Let me just double check because, hold on. Hang on. Okay. Let me. Okay, we good, fam. Hi. I haven't seen you in
Hello.
long. You knew I was going to open with that joke. It's been a while.
Long time no see.
Yeah,
I know, it's been a while.
I know. Welcome, Brian. I'm so excited. Let me introduce my guest to everybody on the Facebook group. So this is Brian Daly. He is not only my husband, if you didn't know already, he is also a fellow master trainer of over 10 years. He has experience both on the gym floor, training men and women, and now he specializes in virtual coaching with dads, helping them lose excess belly fat. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. We were talking about this for a while, so I'm glad we're finally getting to do it.
I know. And I always say to you, like, we literally have fitness banter every day. Like, as long as I've known you for 8 years, every day we talk about, what are you doing with your clients? What do you think of this exercise? So one day it dawned on me, I'm like, hello, this could be an amazing value add to our people. So I appreciate
it. It's valuable, and a lot of people, I think, can benefit from the banter that we have and kind of the crap that we talk sometimes. But it's definitely beneficial, and it's valuable to a lot of people.
It is, which is why I'm so excited. And also, something that I wanted to share is that I always tell you that you're the yin to my yang. So we complement each other so well, obviously in a partnership, but in many different ways. So for example, you don't like to have any sauce on your food. I love to like douse my stuff in hot sauce. You are in the same way as well when it comes to fitness. You started off so opposite to me, and we ended up on the same path nonetheless. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing. And I would love for you to talk about how, for me, I started off being overweight, and my goal was to be skinny initially. And then that resulted eventually into building muscle. And for you, it was actually the opposite. So you started off by being skinny, and then that's kind of what started you out to where you are now. So tell me about how you got into fitness in the first place.
Yeah. So I was always skinny growing up. I was always active, had a fast metabolism. I played sports every day, played football, soccer, every sport that was available to me basically when I was younger. I played, and my diet was crap. Like I barely ate anything. Like my whole diet consisted of pretty much 5 things. I could count them all on one hand. So I was always a skinnier kid. And then when I was 16 or so, one of the football teams I was on brought us in for a development squad, and they gave us a workout program. So the senior players put us through a workout program. So I was doing that for a little while. It's just a basic thing. I didn't really get a whole pile out of it, but it got me into the gym, and I enjoyed it. Then when I was a little bit older, 18, 19, myself and some of my friends joined the gym, and we started going every evening. And I started noticing some changes, in the arms and stuff, but never really a crazy transformation. And then when I went, so I don't even know if you know this, but I went to college in Cork for computer sciences or something like that.
Yeah, you told me that. That's
so yeah. I just honestly, I just did it to get out of the town and experience the college life for a while. But anyway, I stopped kind of training for properly, and I was drinking a lot. When I dropped out, that's when I got seriously into the fitness. So I started kind of reading up on what the exercises are and why you're doing them. And I got an online coach. So I bought a program, and he explained everything in detail, and it just clicked. And within 3 months, like, I had this crazy transformation. And like the big guys in the gym that I used to go to advice were starting to come to me for advice, asking, like, what am I doing, and how can I get abs, and this, that, and the other thing. And that's kind of when I started realizing, well, this is it's enjoyable, first of all, but it's rewarding when you can, when you can help people get to where they want to be. So that's kind of how I got into the fitness.
You know what? That's
so funny. That was a long time ago. That was like, geez, that was 2007, 2008.
Yeah, I feel like you bypassed a lot of what I went through, because with the whole, like, going to college for one thing, that's exactly what happened to me. I went for environmental studies, and then I was like, this is so, like, both those things are so not us. Like, You're in a
Yeah, totally not us.
environment. We're not doing it. And then
Yeah.
I went into fitness. I got into fitness the same way as you, in the sense that like it was my passion and I was like, okay, let me turn this into a career. But I went through a lot longer journey to actually get to like a healthy place. But actually, I think conversely, kind of comparing that, right? You said initially you started in fitness, people were noticing you physically, like building muscle, looking good. I
Yeah.
mean, how old were you? Were like 19, right? At that time?
I was actually, so when I got the coach, the online coach, I think I was 21. So like I was in the prime of my life. I was in peak condition to build muscle
Yeah.
and stay lean. But my diet was always the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
another
did,
thing.
I got into really, really good shape, even with a bad diet. But like when you're younger, you can do that. When you're older, not so much. Like you got to be more conscious of what you're eating and strategic and yeah. But like you said, like yeah, you were always looking to lose weight. I was looking to put on as much weight as I can.
Yeah.
So it was always difficult for me to put on size. So I realized like I got to start eating more. And gradually I started, getting into vegetables and eating more protein, and carbs were never really an issue, but it was more so the protein and healthy fats and the vegetables. That was a big thing.
I just remembered, because one of the things when I said earlier, you're the yin to my yang, you like the food plain, and then also the picky eating. Like you kind of like when we met, I remember you were kind of a self-proclaimed picky eater. You were selective, but yeah, like I know you talked to me about like that was part of your journey as well. Like you said, having more protein. You were naturally skinny and wanted to build muscle. And we're going to talk about that today too, which I'm excited about, why it's so important to eat the right nutrients. But I'd love for you to talk about how much like I started my fitness journey trying to be skinny, and eventually I transitioned into wanting so many other things. Tell me about how you started out, very into the bodybuilding. And I also had this bodybuilding phase myself, but I'd love for you to talk about how you've graduated from just the bodybuilding, just the aesthetics, into like more how your body moves and how it feels as you're at the age you're at now.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I got into training, it was the body, like you said, it was bodybuilding style training that I was doing, and loved it. And I was training like 5-6 days a week. The bro split, like chest Mondays and back Tuesdays, and a
Always.
different muscle group every day. And it was good. It was good. But like when you're young, you can build muscle, and you don't have any issues. Like you're not really super tight anywhere. You've no nagging pains or anything like that. But what I started to notice as I started to get like 28, 29 up to 30, I started noticing like, okay, my shoulder's starting to get a little bit sore now. My chest is getting like really like tight. I can feel it. Like my back was getting sore. My upper back, my shoulders, even my knees, like my knees and my wrist, like these things that I never even thought would ever be an issue.
Yeah.
So I started changing my my workout program. I still enjoy doing the bodybuilding. I try and work that in as much as I can, but it's more kind of functional training now. It's stuff that's going to help my body to feel good. So I like to look good, but also move well and feel good. So kind of training to get rid of as many aches and pains as I can, and be mobile and flexible, and be able to play with the kids pain-free, and just get the most out of my training. Also, like I used to train for 2 hours, like 2 hours, 5 days a week.
Because you're talking about your knees, and remember like,
oh my God, yeah.
Like you talk about like you did these bodybuilding programs that were like at the expense of like your time, your knees, your mobility, right?
Yeah. So again, like I hired another coach. It was just like a cookie cutter program, basically. But we were doing a photo shoot together, and I was like, you know what, let me hire this guy. I would see what his program's like. And, it was insane. Like it was 2 hours, 5-6 days a week. I think it was 5 days a week, and then an hour of cardio another day a week. And the meal plan he had me on was insane. It was
Talk about the potatoes, please.
600 grams of potatoes. Like
a bag
every day. It was a bag of potatoes every day.
In the
And
condo, in
I
the
mean,
condo oven, right? Like it was the oven that was not a proper size oven, was it not? Like you had to
no,
do
no, no.
batches,
It
right?
it was a small. I couldn't cook everything all at once. It was my whole day was spent training, cooking, eating, and cleaning.
A
Like I
bag
had
of
no time to do
potatoes.
anything. And I found like I was eating at 11 and 12 o'clock at night just to get my calories in.
I remember. That's when I realized how different it is. Sorry.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But going back to the training program, like he had me 2 hours a day, like just so much volume. And I mean, I got good results, but afterwards my body was just, it was in bits. Like my knees, he had me doing these sissy squats, which like I didn't have the flexibility to do them.
Oh, those are good for the
And my,
quality.
and they're good for the quads, but you need certain amount of flexibility, which I didn't have. And
Yes.
my knees were have been giving me issues ever since. Not so much anymore, but like for a long time, ever since. So like that's the thing when you're getting a cookie cutter program. It's
Exactly.
you never, like, they don't take into consideration your specific needs, which is unfortunate that I kind of found out the hard way, but that's how it is.
So actually, okay, you made a really good point. So many good golden nuggets here. But something that you mentioned was you did the bodybuilding. Haven't we all? We did the whole like training for aesthetics. I don't care what gets in my way. I don't care if it's 2 hours. I don't care if I can't walk anymore. Okay. And then you mentioned now it's more functional in the sense that you want to play with the kids. Everyone turns 30. And I know me and you talk about this extensively. And I get so passionate because people say, like, oh, when you're 30, you just wait. But it's like, what do you mean you just wait? Because most people, if they're sedentary, that's when the aches and pains kick in. Okay, so talk to me about when you said the word functional, and we had this discussion yesterday. Functional, tell me about what that word means to you and how that's evolved.
So functional, like in I suppose if you're in the fitness industry, like functional was always something that if it helps you with your daily life. So like stuff that sitting down would be like a squat, or like walking and lunges, like certain movements that kind of mimic things that you do in everyday life, right? So that was always like the functional. But like functional can be anything that you want your goal to be. Like that exercise is going to get you there, it can be functional. So of course, like functional is like if you play a sport,
Mm.
certain moves that you do in the sport, there can be exercises that kind of mimic that move, and that's functional.
Mm.
But like in bodybuilding, if like we were talking about this the other day,
Yeah, yeah,
if you want to grow big biceps, like is a bicep curl functional? Of course it is,
yeah.
if you want big arms. But if you're playing soccer
Then
and
it's
your
not.
goal is like agility or to jump higher or something, like bicep curls aren't functional. So whatever your goal is, if an exercise is going to help you to get to that goal, then 100% it's functional.
Yeah, I'm just picturing now, like, yeah, if it's an 80-year-old lady that just wants to get up out of her chair without pain, you're not going to give her like heavy bicep curl drop sets or
No,
something.
no,
Yeah.
that's
Well, I mean, maybe that's, that might be fun, but like you said, it's going to depend on the sport. It's going to depend on your goals. And that comes back to exactly what you said about why it's important to have a custom program, right? Like, it's like, okay, maybe my knees don't feel good with sissy squats. Should I just do them anyway? No. Maybe my goal is to build big biceps. Maybe it's just to get out of my chair. So, yeah, I like what you said about functional applying to, the function is your goals, right? It's,
the function is your goals. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Speaking of specifics for people, so this is what I would love to dive into. So this is where we're so unique. And I actually, like, leading up to this interview, I was excited writing the questions because as much as we talk about stuff, certain stuff I've actually never asked you directly. And obviously I'm passionate about fitness, so are you. That's why we're here. So I love to know about the why behind how you do things. And you've worked with uniquely both women and men. You've worked with quite a bit of women over the years, especially on the gym floor. I haven't trained men for many, many years, only for maybe like the first year that I was personal training. So I'm really curious with your experience doing both. Now you only work with men, but what are the differences that you consider when you're creating programming and coaching for women versus men?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I guess in people's minds, like they think that women have to have a certain type of program and men have to have a certain type of program. Honestly, they can have the same basic program. The thing it comes down to is, like, men usually want to grow, they want to build a big chest or like big arms or big shoulders, and women usually want to build their glutes or like have a flatter tummy or like tone up. So you're kind of changing the workouts based on their goals. But the basic, like you're always going to have the same basic exercises, like the squats and the deadlifts and the bench press or the chest press, and those are always going to be the same. But yeah, honestly, it comes down to the individual's goals at the end of the day. Like if the woman wants to build her glutes, you're going to give her more glute focused stuff. If a guy wants to build the chest, you're going to have more chest focused stuff and less glutes. But the type of workouts you can give them are pretty much the same. Like girls can go heavy. Girls can go heavy. A lot of girls think that they can't go heavy or they're going to get like big and jacked, and it's not true. It's not true. Like do you know how hard it is to put on some size? Like I've been training 15 plus years, eating tons of calories, lifting heavy weights, and I find it super hard to get big.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking, and this is probably something we'll talk about in a while. Unless you're taking like anabolic steroids, you're not going to get super jacked. Super jacked.
So okay, so many good points. And okay, so you know what? That's such an important point to make, because I always tell people it's the effort that makes the difference. And you mentioned good things too, volume, right? Like, so for instance, if you want to grow a muscle group, like women, like, you know, maybe they'll be doing bench and things like that, but it probably isn't going to be the bulk of their volume, because a guy wants to, you know, do that whole, like, what's it called when you flex one pec at a time in the mirror? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't know how to name.
I don't know, but, you know, that's like every guy's goal, and the girls want to build the glute. Like, I'm just generalizing, but when you want to build something like that and do those kind of things, that's when you're going to have more volume for that muscle group.
Exactly.
Yeah, another thing you mentioned too, which is it's the effort, right? Like it's like you're saying, even if you, women, men, no matter what who you are, you have the volume per muscle group that you want to grow, but you need to have effort. Like you need to be lifting heavy enough. And like you said, this is actually a really good segue. Unless you're enhanced with anabolic steroids, it's you're gonna have to do that high effort, high volume training for quite some time. So I actually would love to talk to you about that, because I know that you and I have kind of had a lot of discussion around this lately. When I started off, I used to look up to bikini competitors, which for those who don't know about bodybuilding, they're kind of known as having the least muscle. Like it's the easy category. I use that very heavily on the fingers, because it's not easy to build muscle no matter who you are. But I used to think, oh, you know, I didn't think they were taking performance enhancing drugs. And then I realized that all these athletes, and especially bodybuilders, even your average gym goers that are in really amazing shape, a lot of them are taking anabolic steroids. And these are, that's profoundly going to enhance how fast you build muscle and how much muscle you build beyond your genetic potential, and how lean you can stay and how heavy you can lift and all these things. So I love your thoughts on that, how prevalent it is. Should we look up to these people? And like what is possible naturally for people who don't want to go enhanced?
Well, okay, so there's a few questions there. So like, should we look up to these people? I mean, I personally, I don't see anything wrong in taking steroids if your goal is to get big and jacked. Like you do you. Like the issue is that I have with it is a lot of these like influencers, or like the guys that are on the magazine covers and stuff like that, they're all for the most part taking steroids, but they don't come out about it. So like, and they're selling like certain supplements and certain things and workout programs, and they're selling the dream basically. Like you can look like this if you take this supplement or if you do this workout, and it's BS. It's complete and utter BS. Like if this guy doesn't even look like, can't get the results that he's saying he has naturally, like how the heck are you gonna get it? Like if you're gonna take it, like you should be, and if you're selling certain things, like you should be honest about it. But like at the end of the day, I don't have an issue with someone taking steroids if they're competing in bodybuilding, or if they just want to be big and want to look a certain way. If as long as they're honest about it and not lying to the general public and kind of conning these people into believing that you can get in this shape naturally if you take this supplement or if you buy my workout program, that's where I think the issue lies.
Yeah, I agree, because like I was saying to you when we talked about this before, it's like J-Lo saying, oh, I'm 50, I just have olive oil. Then no, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you're full of that's fine. I like Botox too, but like, you know, it's like, I think they do have a responsibility to be transparent. because I used to be like looking up to these people that I thought like, oh, look, in 12 weeks, they're shredded to the bone and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
muscular. And, like I thought, oh my God, here I am working for only 2 years, because I say that because 2 years is not that much, ladies, especially to build muscle naturally. And that was a big realization for me, is that for men and women, it's a real thing. So just be careful who you're
Yeah.
looking up to.
And
Those athletes are, yeah, like you said, they're talking
yeah.
about the supplements as if, oh, I took this, it was just creatine, wink, wink, even
Yeah.
though,
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's certain people that us been in the industry, like we can look at them and just know for a fact that they're on the juice, whether they come out and say it or not. Like, but you look at people like Liver King. Like, I don't know how someone could look at him and honestly believe that he was natural.
he's
Like, there's
taking
no
care of
way in
himself.
hell. Like, there's absolutely no way in hell you can be that big and jacked and lean and be natural. Like, there's no way in hell. And you look at the guy's face. Like, when you take steroids, like it changes your facial features. It makes your skin go all like pinkish, kind of reddish. And like he had that, but there were so many people that believed that this guy was natural. But then, like on the other side, some people are taking it, but they look like they could be natural, and that's kind of where I find it can be like they should be kind of open and honest about it. Like if they're selling supplements and working programs, I think it's
Yeah. And also another thing too that I'm just thinking, because I think you touched on this earlier, there are some genetic freaks, right? Like there's people who are just blessed with nice fucking symmetry. Excuse my French. Blessed with everything. Blessed with leaning out easier. Blessed with building muscle at an accelerated rate. And genetics are on their side. So I would, we had this discussion too, as to like clients will come to me, for instance, and say, Tiana, what can I expect from 4 months with working with you? How many pounds can I lose in these many months, right? And I talked about this with you, and I said, Brian, how much muscle can someone build naturally? And your answer was, it depends. So I'd
it
love
depends.
to elaborate on what are the factors that you want to look at as to how fast someone's progress moves.
I mean, in either direction, whether you're losing weight or building muscle, there's a lot of factors that you gotta consider. Like, I mean, anyone can lose a ton of weight in a short amount of time. Like, it depends how extreme you want to go.
Scale weight.
Scale weight, yeah, yeah. You can like it depends how extreme you want to go. Like, you can cut your calories down to nothing and do a bunch of cardio, and you can lose weight initially, but you're doing more damage than good. First of all, that's not sustainable. And then, like once you start eating more food and stop with the cardio, because you're not going to do that forever. You're
Yeah.
gonna it's yo-yo dieting, right? You're gonna put it all back on plus a whole bunch more. So like what I tell people is the key to sustainable weight loss or muscle gain is slow and steady. The slower you lose the weight, the easier it is to keep it off. Like the faster you lose it, the quicker you put it back on. So like in let's say in 12 weeks, how much can someone lose? You could lose 50 pounds in 12 weeks if you really wanted to, but like that's not sustainable. That's not healthy. So like ideally what I say is like a pound a week is perfect. And again, it depends on how much weight do you have to lose. Like if you're 400 pounds or 300 pounds, you're going to lose a lot of weight quickly just by moving more and changing up a few things in your diet. Like you're going to lose a lot of weight quickly. Whereas if you've only got like 20 pounds to lose or 50 pounds to lose or whatever, it's going to be a little bit slower. It's going to be a little bit slower. And same with building muscle. Like if you're if you want to put on size fast, like you can just eat a ton of calories, but you're going to put on a lot of fat at the same time. So if you want to build lean muscle, like you got to do it slowly. You got to increase your calories slowly so that you don't put on a ton of fat.
Well, everything you said, I'm getting really passionate because, we always talk about this, but that's why it's so important to have a custom program, right? Like, okay, so just to summarize everything that leads to that we talked about, doing exercises that if it's not right for your anatomy, it doesn't feel good, it hurts your knees, it's not, like you need to be able to tweak things. So I would actually, my follow-up question to that, sorry, and then you mentioned the tweaking exercises and the rate at which someone loses fat, their starting point. These are all things that you factor into someone's program. So talk to me about how you as a coach, when you get a new client, like what what does your system look like? How do you factor in these individual factors?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, you got to find out what their goal is. Like, do they want to build muscle? Do they want to lose weight? How much weight do they want to lose? Or like, what is their overall goal? And then you got to factor in, like, okay, how much time do they have to work out? How many days a week can they work out? How much time do they have? Like, do they have a half an hour to work out? Do they have an hour and a half to work out? Do they have any injuries that we should know about? Do they have any limitations? What workout equipment do they have? You know, are they working out from home? Are they working out from a gym? So these are all things that you need to take into consideration. And like, injuries and limitations is a huge one. Like, anyone can get a workout program off the internet or off a magazine, but it doesn't, like, it's not tailored to your specific needs. Like, if you only have 45 minutes to work out and this workout's going to take you an hour and a half, like, where's the benefit? What are you going to do? Like, you're not going to do half the workout.
You're going to do it once. You're going
to do it. You're not, exactly. You're going to do it once. You're going to do it once. So,
that's what
like, when I'm making a program for someone, like, it has to be something that they can stick to, right? At the end of the day, it has to be something that works with their schedule.
Yes, because I always tell my clients this all the time in our first call. It's like, anyone can find a good on paper plan. Like, how many professional Olympia bodybuilders, you can get their plan. You can probably pay, get it free, get it cheap, whatever. But it's not about the plan. It's not about the plan on paper. Like you said, you were doing, I mean, we're not going to name the names, but like, you got this coaching high level person, had the ultimate workout program that, you know, built his physique, let's say. Okay, but it wasn't fitting in your lifestyle. It didn't work for your knees. You know what I mean? Like, the doing 600 grams of potatoes a day, it just wasn't sustainable. So I love that. You hit the nail on the head. And I think that more people really need to know that, I mean, you know, with you and I both coaching, I think you would agree that it's important. The coaching is really what ties the plan together, making everything cohesive. It's not just the nutrition. It's not just the training.
Exactly.
It's how to actually.
Exactly. Like, it's important for someone to know that, okay, if they're getting a specific exercise and it hurts their knees or hurts their back or it hurts their shoulder, or they don't think they're doing it right, that they know that they can just come to the coach and say that to them, and they're going to change it up and give them something that's better. Or it might, like, an exercise might be too advanced for someone. Like, we don't know when we're not with someone, like, what their exact capabilities are. So sometimes I might give someone an exercise that might be a little bit too advanced for them. And all it takes is just tweaking the exercise a little bit so that they can progress, and then, you know, keep improving and getting the results. That's like, it comes down to support and accountability as well.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I always say, like, you know, knowledge is plentiful, but implementation is scarce. So I think the accountability piece is key. I also wanted to ask your opinion, speaking of coaching people, and this is something that we talk about all the time. I think that I've come to realize the general population sometimes, when it comes to fitness, gets concerned about the small stuff, or they major in the minor, as I like to say. So I know we had this discussion the other day, but there's certain things that I think people are just too focused on that they don't really need to worry about for now. So a couple of them, one of them being meal timing. Like, I think people think, like, how often should I eat? Every 3 hours, every hour and a half? Like, how much, you know, carbs, fat, and protein per meal, and, like, you know, that kind of thing. When in reality, like, it really just matters how much adds up in the whole day. Another thing I was telling you was, I think people are too concerned about body fat percentage. People always ask, what is my exact body fat percentage? And I'm like, listen, like, I always tell my clients this. There's a couple ways of measuring it. There's the calipers. There's a degree of human error with that. There's the weighing scales that tells you your body fat. That's so very highly margin for error. Yeah. What's that?
I said it's completely off.
Yeah, it's completely off. And by the way, pro tip, I don't know about you, Brian, but the gyms I worked at, the trainers were, like, taught to manipulate it. They'd be like, put not athlete at the beginning, so it makes their body fat higher. And then when you weigh them again, put athlete, so it looks like they lost body fat. So,
you know what? I've heard about that as well. And just to kind of touch on that, like, when I worked at Good Life, I was in decent shape. I had a good bit of muscle, and my body fat was low. And so me and another trainer, we were starting kind of at the same time, and he had a little bit more body fat than I had, and like, he didn't really work out as much. And my boss put us both on the machine to test our body fat at the same time, and it came out that like my body fat was way higher than his, and like we both just laughed. Like those things are just like they don't make sense half the time. They don't
Yeah.
make sense half the time.
Oh my God. My client, that happened to her too at the gym she went to. Long story short, she had a free assessment and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe they told me my body fat was like 31%. Mind you, like she's in a muscle building phase. Her body fat was not that high. So yes, it's complete BS. And that's the thing that I educate people on, right? It's like, okay, I get it. You want the number, you want the body fat percentage, but we're going to look at your photos. We're going to look at your measurements, and the photos truthfully will tell you everything you need to know. Like they don't lie, right? Like you can see if you're losing body fat, how much approximate body fat you have. We don't need to know if it's 18 or like 19.2. So I think those are a couple examples of things people are majoring in the minor. So what are some things you've seen people like too zeroed in on that you just don't think they need to be concerned about?
Well, one thing is like the scale weight, like how much do they weigh? So they get fixated on this number, and if the scale weight isn't going down quick enough, they freak out and basically abandon the plan and say this isn't working and just throw it in the bin.
Yes.
Like when in reality, you know, scale weight is always going to fluctuate depending on so many different factors, like the time of day, how much you've eaten, how much, you know, did you take a poo that day or whatever. Like there's so many different things that factor into scale weight. How stressed you are, you know, how much water is your body holding on to, and like there's so many different things.
Traveling and
like when so here's what usually happens with the scale weight is, you know, people lose body fat, right? They lose fat and they build muscle. And then they step on the scale and the scale hasn't gone down or hasn't gone down as much as they would have hoped. Get discouraged and they say, fuck it, I'm not doing this program anymore or whatever. When in actuality, like you should be looking at, you said, like looking at how are your clothes fitting, looking at like progress pictures along the way, because those things aren't going to lie. And you're going to be like, if you've lost fat and put on muscle, yeah, you're going to weigh the same or maybe even more because muscle weighs more than fat. But at the end of the day, if your clothes are fitting right or fitting better, and you can clearly see in progress pictures that you're going in the right direction, then that's what you should be looking at, not so much the scale weight, because scale weight doesn't mean anything at the end of the day.
This is a perfect example, guys. I'm saying it again. That's why coaching is so important, right? Because exactly like you said, because that's part of the coaching process too, right? Like I've had clients, and it's normal because women especially are so used to it. And I think men to some degree too, is like, hey, I haven't lost scale weight, or like, what's going on? And I always tell my clients, like, fat loss comes in peaks and valleys, even when you are doing all the right things. Like you're not always going to see a decline in your weight, just like your weights at the gym that you lift are not going to go up like this. Otherwise we'd be deadlifting 1,000 pounds by now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's why it's so important to have that tailored approach. Okay, so I did want to ask you about something too, switching gears for a moment, something you talked to me about, which I think is important for other men and women to know. And I'm so glad that you're talking about this openly. So I would love for you to tell us about your journey, about some symptoms you were having that made you realize that you might actually have low testosterone. And then when you got that tested and why that was so surprising for you, because you are young and healthy and you lift weights. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, testosterone in men peaks at 19 and starts to decline then after like between 30 and 35. So like right now I'm 34. So I'm kind of in that age range where it would be starting to decline. But we also know like lifting weights and eating healthy, like nutritious foods is good for testosterone production, right? So I never really, like going back, like I never even considered like I would have low testosterone, because like I'm lifting weights, I'm moving, I'm eating like the right foods, I'm getting lots of protein and healthy fats, which is like another thing that helps with testosterone. So anyway, I think we were talking one day and I was like, you know what? I've been training for like 15 years, lifting weights for 15 plus years. And I'm looking at some of these guys that are like absolutely huge. And this goes back to like the steroids as well, because you never know who's juicing, right? So I'm looking at some of these guys that look like they could be natural. And I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking like, okay, I train hard. I lift heavy and I go and my training sessions are intense 5 days a week for the last 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, okay, if they're this size, like surely I should have more muscle than what I have. And then I started looking into it, and like, there's a ton of other conditions that are, sorry, side effects that you can have. And like, one of them is like foggy brain, memory loss, lack of motivation, like kind of mood swings, like low mood and depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. And to be honest, like, my memory, like the last couple of years has just been like, you can tell me something and it's in one ear and out the other ear. Like, I don't even, it's like I've never even heard you say it. So that was kind of the reason why I was like, okay, let me get my testosterone checked. So I went to the doctor and we did the blood test, and I'd kind of done some research at this stage. So like, I knew like the normal range now is between 300 and 900 nanograms per deciliter, right? Which has actually dropped over the last few decades, because men's testosterone, and this is a big issue that no one seems to be talking about, over the last couple of decades has like significantly, it's plummeted. And it's to do with like sedentary lifestyle and all these toxins in the environment, and like plastic everywhere, and like, not like, just like preservatives and stuff like that in foods that are just like killing your hormones, and nobody's talking about it. And so what did they do? Instead of educating men on things that you can do to naturally increase your testosterone, they just lower the average or the normal range from 600 to 1200, I believe, is what it used to be, and now they've lowered it to 300 to 900, which to me I found was like just pretty alarming. Like, you're just going to lower the normal range because
they don't want to,
you don't want to educate people on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a little bit of a side story, but yeah, I went to the doctor. We did the blood work, and I went in, and when the results were there, and he said, "Oh yeah, your results they're fine, they're normal. You don't have to worry about it." And I kind of pressed him. I was like, "Well, what's the number?" Yeah. And it was 261. So to me, to see 261 was like a good bit below the low end of what's normal. So yeah, that kind of hit home with me, and I was like, okay, well, now I really gotta take care of myself and change the lifestyle, and make sure I'm eating like the right foods, and make sure like I'm getting the most out of my training sessions and my diet and stuff like that. So that's what I do in my program with my guys right now. Is like, it's touching on, of course, you get the workouts, which are very, very good, like good workouts, yeah, in and out, like in 45 minutes to an hour, like quick and intense. But we're also focusing on habits, like simple daily habits that you can do to naturally boost your testosterone, which is going to make you feel better. It's going to help you, it's going to improve your sex drive. It's going to your blood pressure is going to be better. Your joints are going to feel better. Your bone density is going to be better. Like it branches off into all aspects of a healthy life. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. Like, one thing that I noticed was, like, I was drinking out of plastic bottles all the time, and that's a huge contributor to look. So now it's glass. Trying to drink out of as much as we can. But like, men don't know this. Like, no one knows about it, and no one talks about it. And like, one thing that's like so bad is like heating up plastic. So like, if you've got food in a plastic Tupperware and you're putting it in a microwave, heating that up is just, it's destroying your hormones. It's destroying your hormones. Yeah. And so that's what I focus on. So trying to, for myself and with my clients in my program, it's simple daily habits that make a huge difference, and are going to help to naturally boost your testosterone, so that you can get you can feel better, but also get the most out of your program, and get like naturally burn more fat, naturally burn more muscle, and just like mentally feel better than, like, no one wants to be having mood swings or low mood or whatever. Like, so yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now.
Well, I love that everything you said, because it's holistic, right? And that comes back to the whole tying together our discussion, which is that, there's a one-dimensional plan. And I think people think, like, if you say testosterone, I think your average man or woman even would know, like, oh, testosterone, muscle building. So men naturally have more than women. That's why they build muscle. But, it's not really that simple. And like you said, if you know the daily habits you can incorporate, it's going to kind of synergistically help with the training, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
it's maximizing what the training is doing. Just like when your nutrition is optimized, it's maximizing what the training is doing. So
Yeah,
everything together,
I just thought about another point there as well.
yeah,
Like when people think of testosterone, like they think of aggression, like male aggression, right? Male fighting and
masculinity.
anger, and like it's not like that. Like the reason people, and I guess this again comes back to steroids and taking like large amounts of testosterone, which
Roid rage.
it goes way higher than what it should be. That's where the aggression comes in.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you're naturally an aggressive person or an angry person, guess what? High testosterone is going to amplify that. You know, it's just like when you drink. If you're naturally a fun, carefree kind of person, when you drink, that's what's going to come out. If you're an aggressive person, when you're drunk, you're going to be an angry drunk, and you're going to be looking for fighting.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's gonna, like when you're taking like steroids and testosterone, and you're taking them like this crazy huge amounts, that's what happens. So it's not, you don't have to worry about aggression if you're in the normal range, and you're doing it naturally. Like that just is, you don't have to worry about any of those crazy side effects.
Well, yeah, and that's, I wanted to point something out too, because I love having this discussion with you, even like before we did this, because I work with women, obviously. So I want to tell all the women out there, if you're watching this and thinking like, okay, this is nice to know, but I'm not a male, so I don't need to worry. Women do need also, obviously, their testosterone requirements are lower. However, like you mentioned, it is something to look out for. So the symptoms that you're mentioning, the brain fog, lower memory, even trouble building muscle, libido, energy, motivation is low, like low mood, that kind of stuff. It's women can experience this as well. So I definitely think that for women, it's worth, like, this is a valuable thing as well, right? It's not exclusive to males.
It's not exclusive to males. Like everyone has testosterone, and like you need testosterone to build muscle and
Yeah.
exactly, like it's beneficial for everyone. Obviously, like women don't have to worry about it as much as men, because like it's not their main hormone. Like testosterone is men's main, it's their sex hormone. It's what makes a man, right?
Yeah.
So when your test is low and you just don't feel like who you are, I think people should be talking about it more. It's a big concern. Like the big thing for me was, like, instead of educating people and getting them to increase their testosterone naturally, like they go and just lower what's the normal range. Like that to me is just like crazy. I couldn't get my head around that.
Well, yeah, like, you know what? I find that that's how it is. We were talking about this yesterday with medicine, that there's its faults, right? Like, we obviously believe in medicine when it's necessary, but like the doctor will sometimes just look at, okay, are you within the range that you don't need medication? Okay, you're good. But like you said, first of all, like, here's another good point, actually, a side point to that. I think people need to like look at like athletes trying to build muscle a little bit differently too than just gen pop. You know what I mean? And that's another total kind of side note. But I find that even with protein intake, people will always say like, I don't need that much protein or whatever. I'm like, the protein and calories, and I mean, maybe you'd agree, the testosterone levels as well for someone who's training to build muscle. I mean, maybe like, even with your symptoms though, even I wouldn't say that's satisfactory, because you shouldn't have to live with these things, but you're an athlete, right? That's another thing to consider. You want to perform higher, you want to build more muscle, but also you want a baseline of like just feeling good. So I think that's important for people to consider as well.
100%.
So actually, follow-up question to, you talked about your goals, you talked about what you're focusing on. So I would love to know. So this is where you came from in terms of the bodybuilding. Now you're more focused on what makes your joints feel good. You want to optimize your testosterone naturally. So tell me more about what your future goals are in the next year. What does Brian 2.0 look like in 2023?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, it's important to have goals in every aspect of life. So yeah, I mean, my goal for next year is get the testosterone levels, like get them up to like normal ranges. I would love to get it naturally up to like 500-600 nanograms per deciliter. That I feel would make a huge difference with how I feel. Also, like I was saying this to you the other night. like whenever the season changes, I find my goals change. So like when you come into winter, it's more kind of bulking season, right? We're not going to be shirtless at the beach or at the pool or anything like that. So we're not too concerned about how the body looks. But for me, like I'm always going to want to look good, right? I'm always going to want to look good. So my goal is to still at the moment I'm in a build phase, so I want to get my weight up, but I want to get it to, like, for the summer I want to be like in around 170, 175 lean at about 10-12% body fat.
Yeah.
But I want to be moving well and feeling good. So I want to improve my mobility for sure, like in around the shoulders and the hips and ankles and stuff. Yeah, mainly my main goal is just look good and move well.
Yeah.
And feel good. Those are my goals.
Yeah, I love that. You and I always talk about that too, because when people will say like, I don't care about looking good, I just care about like lifting the groceries in one shot. And I said to you last night, I'm like, yeah, but like I don't want to sacrifice the lifting groceries in one shot. Like that's a baseline to me. You know what I mean? Like I not having creaky knees, like feeling good, all these things. Like I think you and I would both agree this is the difference between then and now, is like that is the forefront of your priorities. But like you said, hey, don't we all want to look good? Don't we all want to, I like that you say you like to fill out your t-shirts in the right places. Like that's
exactly. Yeah. Like for me, that's like, I never use a scale weight. I never ever jump on a scale. Maybe once or twice a year just to kind of see where I'm at out of curiosity. But like how I kind of judge where I'm at is like how am I filling out my t-shirts? Like if my t-shirt it's loose here, I'm like, okay, shit, I gotta put on some size right now, or I gotta work on my arms a little bit more. But yeah, that's how I do. Like for me, it's filling out the t-shirts in the right places, like chest, the shoulders, the arms, and having it flat down here. That's like if you look good in your t-shirts, if you look good and you feel, you're gonna feel good, right? Look good, feel good.
Yeah, how you do anything is how you do everything. I'm totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. But for me, it's my cyclist shorts. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always been my thing, where I'm like, if I like put those on and it's summertime and they're filled out nicely, like I'm good. That and lifting my groceries in one shot, that's amazing.
That's it.
Yeah. Well,
Of course, like being able to play with the kids pain free. That's a
yeah, like exactly. That's like a baseline for sure.
yeah.
You know what? I would actually love to take a moment now before we wrap up and just ask if anyone watching has any questions for Brian, for me, for both of us. I'm gonna just get to the Facebook comments now because I haven't seen those. Marilyn, two of my fave fit pros. The potato diet, yes.
We love Marilyn.
Oh, Brian, the term Julia said, it's a chest wink, the pec thing.
Oh, okay. I've never heard it. I see you guys doing it all the time.
You know the one I mean. I feel like all guys. I remember when I was in school, someone was like, "That's my goal," and I just thought all guys had that goal. So it's a chest wink.
Yeah. Good to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was so awesome, Brian. I'm so happy that you were able to join me. But before we go, tell everybody watching where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, pumpedupdad, and Facebook. I've got a Facebook page as well. You can just look up pumpedupdad, and I'm there. Yeah, posting, trying to post every day.
I love it. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm going to leave that in the I was going to say the description, the comment section. So if you're not watching live, you can catch it there. Brian, thank you so much. This was awesome. I'm literally going to go see you right now, but thanks for joining me live.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Bye.
Bye.